Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge. My name is Sia Nejad, and we are brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. We got a big show for you today. I see Liddy in the chat, Ninja13, Stephen Cook, Jeff Hadley, Richard Pierre, Matt and Gipper's Pick, and KC3 are in here. Let's take a look at how we did on the recap screen as you hit the like button. We go 3-2. We carry over Mike McClure's tennis play, which, of course, if you recall, was finishing up when our show was finishing up yesterday. We go 3-2 overall. Good job from Buckets. Obviously, we see Mike McClure, and our SportsLine pick got dicey there in the ninth, but the Philadelphia Phillies cover the run line -1.5. All right. Let's move forward, though. Let's bring in the stars of the show here on a Thursday as we're all monitoring, or at least I'm monitoring golf. I've got my matchup. You guys are probably taking a look at it. Harry Hall up a few strokes early. Got a couple of guys flirting with the first-round lead, but it is very early here. Mike McClure, I got to go to you. Are you kind of focused on golf right now? Where's your attention lying?
Yeah, a lot of golf, a little bit of tennis. We're in grass court season, a little baseball, but definitely a lot of golf. Love these signature events. Looking at DFS mostly, but actually have a golf play for round one on the show today.
That's right. I got another golf play. I know, Sniper, you're here for not only your baseball plays, but to answer all of the baseball plays and questions that are in the chat. And then, Zach, I got to go to you first because I think a lot of people think tonight is the night where we crown a champion. What was it? Last night, or I should say 2 nights ago, NHL champion was crowned. Tonight, probably OKC. How you feeling about this game in general in terms of which way it's going to go?
Yeah, it seems like the Thunder have the momentum, but I won't discount Indiana just yet. You look at the Tyrese Halliburton news, we'll see what happens. It's going to be a game-time decision, but they had this game at home in Game 4, so they should be fired up because this should be their closeout game, the way they let that slip away. Referees did play a part in that as well with some of the SGA moves they allowed. So I'm not going to rule out Indiana yet. They haven't given up all throughout the playoffs, even in the last game when they were down big.
Yeah, we have perhaps a play on the Pacers somewhere during this show. We got a lot of basketball plays on the show. Sniper, I kind of saw you nodding your head like, yeah, they kind of had it and gave it away in Game 4. Here we are.
Yeah, we discussed it yesterday, or I don't know what the days of the week bleed together at this point in the summer for me. But yeah, as I said, I believe when Game 4 finished, I thought to myself, that was the NBA Finals. We blew that in the last 3 minutes there. That was the entire series. So, yeah, this is probably it. I did see in the chat, Thomas mentioned Keith Van Horn days away. That was who I have down for Bears number 78.
Yeah, we are 78 days away, otherwise known as apparently Keith Van Horn days away.
Bears right tackle.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Anthony Munoz says Steve Folkerts. I will say Bruce Smith. I'll say Laramie Tunsil, new Washington commander. There was one other one I had on my mind. I can't remember who it was. But if you have a favorite number 78, put it in the chat. Oh, KC3, this is a good one. Tristan Wirfs, days away from NFL kickoff. Love doing these as we get to the more, I don't know, the more exciting players when we get to like the 50s and the 30s and the 20s and inevitably to the quarterbacks. Once we get to the quarterbacks, we're real close to NFL kickoff. All right, let's kick off some bets here. Zach, I'm going to start with you. We have a lot of NBA Finals picks for tonight, and you're going to kick us off with Pascal Siakam.
Yes, I am. I'm going to go over his points prop, over 21.5. Now, I do think this could trickle up if Tyrese Halliburton is ruled out. So I'm comfortable playing this now and not waiting till game time like you should with a lot of other players, especially the role players on Indiana, Benedict Mathurin, and so forth. But he's had consistency in this series. He scored 20 or more points in 3 straight games. He's coming off a series high in Game 5 where he put in 28 points, had an incredible fourth quarter where he scored 14 points, played a big role in cutting that deficit all the way down to 2 points. And OKC, we know their defense is going to remain aggressive. They're trying to close out the Pacers tonight. I think that's going to lead to extra fouls. They've had aggressive defense all throughout the playoffs. It's actually helped Pascal Siakam in each of the last 2 games. He's taken 8 free throw attempts. And then we know the biggest factor here is Halliburton. How much healthy is he going to be? Is he going to be 60%, 70%? He may not play. So we know the Pacers are going to lean on Siakam no matter what. Let's go over 21.5 points for Siakam.
All right, Pascal Siakam over 21.5 points. While we're talking basketball, and Sniper, I'm going to kick it to you for your baseball play in a second. Mike, I do want to ask you about the game itself, whether it's about the spread or whether you think OKC is going to close things out. How do you think tonight's going to go?
Oklahoma City by double digits. I think by 10.
All right. 10. So they cover the spread. What is the spread sitting at right now? Do you remember?
6.5 generally.
Okay. All right. Sad news for Sniper, but Sniper does seem a little inevitable. So
I mean, like I said, a couple days this week, I've accepted it by now. Like once the game starts tonight, I'll get riled up again and we'll get into it.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm in the place where I am happy that it happened.
All right, fair enough. Let's get to your pick here as we look at the spread here over at BetMGM with a 221.5 point total, which is interesting, and a 6.5 point spread. We finally, Mike, I want to go to you real quick. We finally had an over come in last game where we had I think 4 games in a row where the under came in. Do you have any thoughts on the total here?
Let's see. I don't have any general thought at this point. Yeah, I made it 222.
So no real edge there.
No play. Yeah, right on where it should be, I think.
Zach, what about you? Any thoughts on 221.5?
It'd be a slight lean to the over. We just see it come down throughout this series. I think it was 229.5. It opened and was coming down to 228. Was settled in 224, 225. So it's been coming. The odds maker just moved it down, but I like the over here with Indiana being at home. We usually see more offense on their home court.
All right. Farzad says Orlando Brown and Sun days away. We had Leon Lett. That was the one I was forgetting. We are Leon Lett days away from NFL season. All right, Sniper, start us off with some baseball.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the Phillies, who are hot right now, the Marlins, who are a pretty bad team. And as we have discussed many times before, including on one of the live shows, the way I like to try to get better odds is to grab the pitcher to get a win here. Christopher Sanchez to get the win is plus 105. I believe I've played him on this prop twice this yeyear, and we have hit it both times. So we're going to go back to the well. Again, Marlins bad, Phillies good. That's an easy place to look here. Sanchez is 5-2 with a 3.05 ERA, but he's better on the road, 2.84 road ERA. And if we look at his career against the Marlins, even better there, 1.33 ERA against the Marlins. He's gone 7 innings in each of his last 2 starts. Just need the Phillies to get a lead while he's still in the game. Edward Cabrera on the hill for the Marlins. He does have good stuff at times, but the Phillies should be able to get to him. So I believe that we're in good shape to get the plus money win here. Also, I have not had great luck recently here. I've been losing a lot, frankly. So I just wanted to grab a play for a team that I think is going to win, not worrying about the juice. Braves minus 128. Obviously not a ton of juice here. Spencer Strider on the hill for the Braves. The Braves have gotten hot. They're at home against the Mets, who are really cold right now. Clay Holmes on the mound for the Mets. I like the Braves to win this one. Minus 128 is a good price for me.
Hey, by the way, if you've been cold over the last handful of picks, you've been really hot most of the season. So it's a long baseball season. So cold streaks are going to happen when you have 162 games to talk about on a pretty routine basis. I love both of these picks. We've got some deals for tonight at BetMGM as I read these comments that are so great. Jen M says, Red Grange days away. We are going so old school here. BetMGM players will receive their bet back in cash as a second chance refund on any first field goal wager. If the player you wager on to score first does not score the game's first basket but scores the second basket, you get your money back. BetMGM players will also receive an NBA Finals SGP boost. Just add an SGP made up entirely of NBA Finals wagers and activate the token. If you win the SGP, you get extra winnings only at BetMGM. Couple of SportsLine picks, and then I believe we have a producer pick, which Ben is going to show up for. We got Jalen Williams under 34.5 PRA at minus 120. That one courtesy of Prop Stars. And then Benedict Mathurin over 10.5 points at minus 122. That one from Mikey B, and the producer pick. You know he likes first quarters. You know he likes first halves. You know he likes to take dogs. First half Pacers plus 3.5, minus 115. Ben, would you like to come on and explain yourself?
If this is going to be my last NBA bet of the season, I might as well go down swinging with those first half bets. I think this is one of those classic backs against the wall plays for the Pacers. Now, I hope Halliburton plays. Even if he's out for this game, I do still like this first half because the Pacers are just a scrappy team. They play really well with their backs against the wall. They're also just a really good first half team. They're 5-0 in their last 5 first half games at home. They have won both first halves at home in this series. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They just play really well out of the gate at home. So I don't think this game's going to be much different, especially with the added pressure of it being a win or go home type of game. Might as well go out swinging with these first half picks.
All right, Ben, he's taking the points. Pacers first half plus 3.5 at minus 115. Zach, go ahead.
I was going to say this earlier, but this Tyrese Halliburton factor, we've seen this before. We saw it last year in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Boston Celtics, where he missed the 2 games, games 3 and 4. They actually came out on fire against the Boston Celtics in that game 3. I think they were up by 18 points in the second half. That was a classic melt right at the end where Boston got the win, but they actually played great in both games. So maybe Halliburton, I kind of wouldn't mind he doesn't play. I think that would give them more fire right out the gate.
Interesting.
And you might get a better line too.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, that's the thing. Like, is this the thing, Ben, where it's not going to get any worse than 3.5 that people could potentially wait? I mean, I don't think he's going to get ruled. We don't think he's going to get ruled out officially, right? I don't think that's going to happen. Mike, any thoughts on that? Like, there's really no reason for them to rule him out officially, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to rule him out officially.
Yeah, I suspect he's going to try to play hurt, but we'll have to wait and see. But I guess, Ben, to just the point of like kind of waiting. I mean, I think you could probably wait and see if it hits 4, but we're taking the plus 3.5 right now. Love that. All right, I can't wait for that game. Really excited about it. Really excited about some golf picks, the SportsLine home run model plays, and some of your questions that we have starred to get to in just a couple minutes. We'll do all of that right after this message from our partners.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
We are back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Mike, I think it's time to talk some golf before we get into the home run model plays and to some of the chat questions. Why don't you kick us off with a play on Shane Lowry?
Shane Lowry, look, coming off the miscut last week, I like him to bounce back. It was a very difficult test of golf. It was one where he ultimately got some days off because he didn't play the weekend. I'd like the setup for him here, though. When you look at this field, he's still 3rd in total strokes gained on the approach, which is going to be very important. I think he bounces back in a big way. You can find this number 67.5. That is a -3 or better. Looking at the current course conditions, some of the other players out there right now essentially hitting this number on the front 9. And guys that profile somewhat similar. One that's standing out to me is going to be Bud Cauley, who's been very good on approach this year. I see a chat. I do not love Shane Lowry. I very, very, very rarely back Shane Lowry, to be honest with you. But I like Shane Lowry today, just simply course conditions and his skill set. I think he's got a very well-rounded game, leading on that approach play, and the price point here, plus 110. Some of the comps to him would be like Russell Henley, who he is paired with at some books in a matchup. Henley's number on this is -110. I think that they should be a lot closer together. So give me Shane Lowry here, under 67.5 strokes in round 1 at plus 110.
All right. Love the plus number there as well. I'm going to give out my golf play, and then we'll go back to some baseball and perhaps some of your basketball questions as well. First of all, the Harry Hall play over Min-Woo Lee. They're through 8 holes. Harry Hall is up 3 strokes. He's at 2 under, while Min-Woo Lee is at 1 over. So far, that play, which was -110, is going well. I'm going to up the juice a little bit here. I'm going to take Sepp Straka -125 over Aaron Rai. Again, this is a round 1 2-ball that I think starts at 12:55. So we have really over a couple of hours here before this one kicks off. Sepp Straka is really the better version of Aaron Rai in every possible way. And that's why, by the way, this is -125. But honestly, I might put this at -135. I think we're getting some value here. And again, when you look at Sepp Straka, he's had such a great season. Obviously, he missed the cut last year. I'm willing to give people a pass when they miss a cut, especially at somewhere like Oakmont at a major. Nonetheless, Aaron Rai getting some steam for this tournament because he's classically a good ball striker. A lot of people like him in DFS. I don't have a huge problem with that. I faded him completely. If you listen to the live chat with me and Mike yesterday, I faded him completely because his ownership was kind of high, and I'm just not a big Aaron Rai guy. Sepp Straka, on the other hand, does all the things that Aaron Rai does well, except this one other thing he does well, which is putt. He putts a lot better than Aaron Rai. When I'm looking at a round matchup or a tournament matchup even, I'm going to lean on the guy that I think can close on every hole, and I think Sepp Straka is that guy. I think Aaron Rai is getting a little bit too much steam, and that Sepp Straka, maybe we're thinking of last week a little bit too much. I'll take the -125 over Aaron Rai in a round 1 2-ball. All right, those are a couple of golf plays. Let's go back to baseball. Let's see if we can get, before I get to the chat question, Sniper, let's see if we can get our SportsLine home run model plays out here. I noticed there was a couple of names that are pretty familiar to this chart. Junior Caminero has been on here a lot. He's plus 298 per the SportsLine model, but the real odds are plus 450. The next piece of value is from Brent Rooker, plus 265, says SportsLine, but the real odds are plus 340. And then very modest value in Wyatt Langford, plus 420 versus plus 425. Pretty much even there. Sniper, do these names come to mind? And are there other names? Because I asked you this question yesterday, and I could have sworn you named a few extra players off the chart, and one of which was Jose Altuve, who did go the yard yesterday. So if you got extra names,
we actually hit a few. Like I said, I've been really cold on my official picks, but I mentioned Ronald Acuna Jr. Either yesterday or another day, or both, when he hit home runs.
Yeah.
I said that the Rays-Orioles game was going to be fruitful, and it was. There were like 5 home runs. I have the same thing today. It's in Tampa. The ball flies there. It's really hot and humid. Charlie Morton's on the hill for the Orioles. So in addition to Caminero there, maybe a Brandon Lau, Yandy Diaz, somebody like that. And again, Sacramento this whole week has been very fruitful on the home runs. So if you want to go back to the well with Altuve, he's been hot there. Yainer Diaz, Jeremy Pena, Cam Smith, who hit 2 bombs the other night, is another one that could be a good play for the Astros there. Jacob Lopez, a left-hander on the mound for the A's, has allowed 6 home runs in 30 innings.
That is really interesting. I'm looking at the chat. Jen M says, so the SportsLine model has finally given up on Gunnar Henderson. Yeah. Welcome to the club. I mean, if there was a game, because I had my eyes on a lot of different baseball games yesterday, Sniper, if there was a game that really encapsulates the Baltimore Orioles experience, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
They had a huge lead on the Rays, and then they ended up getting smoked 12-8.
Yeah, I believe it was 8-0. They scored 8 in the second inning and gave up 12 unanswered. The rest I know we don't usually say unanswered in baseball, but you don't usually see allowing 12 runs without scoring a run. They looked like they were starting to climb into that wild card race. They're still only 6.5 out, but there's a lot of teams to jump over. But that was a nice little reminder that this just isn't happening this year. So yeah. There were several baseball questions that I was going to mention, so I might as well just do that right now. Yeah, I think the Yankees will probably score again. Scored twice last night, but they were solo home runs. Somebody asked about the Cubs money line. It was probably Rick Funkanen. Yes, the Cubs at home, they're a great bet right now. I saw Twins Reds over 9. Yes. Are they playing 2 today?
I believe so. Yeah.
So looks like just a 1.
Oh, so, no, it's just 1. There are a couple doubleheaders. That's not one of them.
It's a 12:40. Yeah. I mean, it's really hot and humid here in the Midwest. So yes, I would love runs in that one. Somebody asked about Carlos Rodon over 18.5 outs and or 6.5 strikeouts. I like the strikeouts there against the Angels. I wouldn't do the over 18.5 outs. I feel like he could stop right at exactly 6 innings pitched. Those were the main ones I saw.
Okay.
Actually, yes, I was going to mention that as well from Liddy. Emmett Sheehan returned. He had Tommy John surgery, hadn't pitched since September of 2023. Looked really, really good for 4 innings. It's a nice reminder that the Dodgers are starting to get a little bit more healthy. We saw Ohtani go his 1 inning. He's going to keep building things up. Sheehan comes back. Snell and Glass now are throwing. They'll be back probably for the second half. Dodgers have won 5 in a row. They just pushed their division lead up to 4.5, and they have literally the easiest schedule in baseball the rest of the way. If you can find a prop on who's going to end up with the best record and it's not heavily juiced, which it probably is, the Dodgers would be the play there, but I assume it's heavily juiced.
I mean, you're going to see the real Dodgers, I guess, once that pitching staff gets moderately healthy with Ohtani, Snell, Glass. Now, I mean, there's just a lot going on there that needs to go to get right, and I think it's happening as we're looking at it. I thought Sheehan was pretty good yesterday too. I watched some of that game as well. Let's see it. Any other questions in the chat? I know we had some baseball questions. I want to mention Mackenzie on the show. She had 2 College World Series plays that she gave out. I think they were kind of in tandem with was it Jake Fettner, and those hit. She went 2-0 there. So if you all tailed those definitely hit. Jeff Stenberg says Angels team total again over 3.5 at plus 110. Riding this rocket ship to the moon. I guess they're playing the Yankees again. Any thoughts there, Sniper?
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, that one's a tough one. I think the Yankees will win, but they shouldn't have been losing all these games. That's why I'm kind of staying away until they look like they've fixed themselves. The offense is definitely in a funk right now. Team total, again, I don't know how much you want to count on the Angels offense. I could see Rodon dealing.
Yeah, I could see that too. I think maybe the Yankees in a parlay piece sounds like a good play. All right, Mike, is anything that you saw in the chat before we get to the recap screen that you need to respond to?
Just really good conditions at Yankee Stadium today. Best day of the season so far by a pretty considerable margin. So, 90 degrees, humid, winds blowing out, storm in the area. Just great hitting weather.
I feel like the Northeast in general, at least like the Washington game, for example, which is at 105 with Dollander and Trevor Williams, that total is 9.5. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that hits the 10 or more. I think there's a lot of good hitting conditions today. Zach, anything in the chat that you needed to respond to?
Not that I've seen. No, a lot of baseball questions. Home run props. I kind of do like Paredes tonight with the Astros, with what Sniper was saying with all the Astros hot bats. I think he can hit one out. I think it was 0 for 4 yesterday. He'll snap out of his funk tonight. I'm probably going to post that on the site.
Any thoughts on Halliburton under 13.5? Zach, is that one of those things where it's just like we just don't know enough and it's just not worth taking one way or the other?
Yeah, you just don't know enough. If he's going to go, he's probably had all the treatments you can imagine to play through this type of pain. He played in the last game. He just didn't make any shots. So you're buying very low right now on 13.5 points. I think he's usually at 18.5, somewhere in that range. So I wouldn't touch it. I know it's going to be a popular play based on him going 0 for 7 in Game 5, but not in my opinion. I think you take the role players of Indiana. We saw T.J. McConnell go off. We saw Benedict Mathurin do it before, possibly Obi Toppin. Other players are probably going to play more minutes with Halliburton being decreased, but 13.5 is very low. He's a streaky player, make a couple threes, get to the foul line. He could still go over that even if he plays in that 30-minute range.
I don't know if anybody has a comment on this. This was surprising to me, and we'll go to the recap screen in a second. But, Mike, I'm going to ask you, and then Zach, hand up if you have a commentary on this. Liddy says, can we talk about the Lakers selling to the Dodgers owner for $10 billion? Does anybody have a take on that? Was that a big surprise? Do we not get into the business side? Like, is that we just don't know enough? Anyone?
I'm not surprised that they sold. It's a pretty significant number. And obviously LeBron James is exiting. There's just a lot of natural kind of exit points there. So I think it's fine.
All right. Volleyball Buckets is in the chat, says, I made it. Zach, no commentary here.
I've listened to Mark Cuban make some takes on this right now. He says this is the best time to sell if you're in the NBA with the streaming deals that are going on and left and right. So I could see it happening. I know she's getting older. The Buss family's had that team forever. So it seems like the right time for me.
I can tell you from the perspective of a baseball person who knows the Dodgers ownership really, really well. Obviously, there are salary caps in the NBA. That's different. So it's not like they can just overly outspend everybody. But right. The ownership group in baseball is good, not just because they just don't care about spending money. They're also the very low level of meddlesome in terms of they will put a baseball person in charge, such as Andrew Friedman, and let him do the baseball ops and leave their hands out of it and say, we're trusting you. You got it. They hired who they thought was the best man in baseball to run their team, and they were right, and they just let him run the show.
Farzad says, Ohtani going to play point guard. He can probably do that too. I mean, I just think that's such an appropriate comment. All right, let's get to the recap screen before we get out of here. I've got a round 1 2-ball Sepp Straka -125 over Aaron Rai. Don't forget, we're still holding on to see whether Harry Hall is going to beat Min-Woo Lee. That was my play yesterday, and it's pending. Shane Lowry, round 1, under 67.5 strokes at +110. That one courtesy of Mike McClure. We're carrying over Mackenzie's play from yesterday. She hit those 2 College World Series plays, unofficial plays, I guess, for the show purposes. But her official play yesterday was Lou Dort over 12.5 points, rebounds, and assists at -120. Then we've got Pascal Siakam over 21.5 points at -110. That one courtesy of Zach. And then finally the sniper, Christopher Sanchez, to record a win at +105. And the Braves money line at -128. Got some SportsLine picks here, folks. Jalen Williams under 34.5 PRA at -120, courtesy of PropStars, and Benedict Mathurin over 10.5 points at -122. That one from Mikey B. And then we got a producer pick. He's going out swinging with these first quarter plays. This time it's a first half play on the Pacers +3.5 at -115. All right. It's a lot of picks for a Thursday. A lot pending in golf. We got baseball, afternoon baseball coming up. We got the NBA Finals tonight. A lot going on, and this sets up very nicely for BPE Friday. I noticed Buckets was in the chat. He'll be joining us tomorrow for BPE Friday, among many others. Looking forward to that, and looking forward to having a great Thursday. Have a great Thursday, everybody. On behalf of Zach, on behalf of Sniper, Mike McClure, Ben on the 1s and 2s and 9s and 10s. My name is Sia Nejad, a.k.a. the Counselor of Cash, and we rest our case.